This is the Everyday Fantasy Football Podcast. We got your host, Jay Marsh. We got Ben. I'm not going to even try to pronounce your last name. And same for Andrew. So my name is Justin. I'll be the host of your podcast. We're just three average dudes. We happen to be all in the same fantasy leagues, which is good and terrible at the same exact time. But I'm going to just kind of run through here, have everyone introduce themselves, and then we'll kind of get into it. So, Ben.
Yeah, my name's Ben. I met Jay Marsh through work a couple years ago. We've been in the league together now. We were in two separate leagues, one keeper dynasty league that we're continuing, and one other league through ESPN. I'm the commissioner of that league. I've won that. We've had that league going for about 7 years now. I've won it twice. Finished top three times besides that. In Jay Marsh's league, did not do well last year with the dynasty. I had a lot of old hurt players, but this year we drafted some young rookies, Malik Neighbors. Can't remember who else I have on that squad, so we're looking to turn it around that year.
Good stuff. And I forgot to mention, I had 2 championships as well. Last year is actually the first time in a long time. I've been playing fantasy since I was probably like 12 years old. So
yeah, I'm really surprised you forgot to mention that, Jay Marsh, because you
I didn't want to
forget to mention that.
I don't want to toot my own horn at the start just to introduce everyone. But yeah, I've been playing fantasy since I was 12 years old in the Jeremy Maclin, Deshaun Watson, Michael Vick days, which are amazing. But yeah, last year I finally got my first dubs in a while. But yeah, like Ben said, we've been in a league for a while, and me and Andrew are in 3 leagues together. The one league we've been in for about 8 years now, so that's pretty awesome. But Andrew, let's hear a little bit about you.
Yeah, I've been playing fantasy football for I don't even know, 12, 13 years at this point. Too long. I only have a couple championships under my belt, which is kind of frustrating. Jay Marsh likes to steal them from me on a pretty regular basis. Last year in Dynasty, I felt pretty good about my team, and I ended up coming in second to some joker named Scott Hilmus, who just randomly beat me with a completely inferior team in the championship round.
Justin Jefferson. Running backs.
Yeah. Well, he had CMC, but like Justin Jefferson didn't do me any favors. He got me like 4.4 points in that game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. But besides that, like Jay Marsh said, we're in 3 leagues together. And I'm just really looking forward to this season. I feel like my Giants are finally looking like they might, win more than 4 games.
Maybe. Hey, they started a fight today with what's his name on the Alliance receiver?
St. Brown?
Yeah, Amon-Ra.
Yeah, dude, Danny Dimes was about to. He was in the middle of it, leading that team.
What was it about?
I don't know.
Amon-Ra caught a pass, and then some guy knocked the ball out of his hands when the play was over, and then he pushed him, and then it just started all on scuffles. So, but no one defended Amon-Ra, which is weird. His whole team didn't back him up, which is really odd to see because he's the star of the show over there. I mean, him, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Jared Goff.
I feel like that happens a lot in these scrimmages because guys are like just dying to hit each other, and they're just like they can't. There's just they want to do something, so they end up fighting because it's just like. I don't know. That's why you play football. Like
I don't know why they do scrimmages honestly with other teams even before preseason. I just think that's just like every single year you see it. They do a scrimmage with another team. Guess what? A fight every single year. There's not a single scrimmage I've seen that there hasn't been a fight. It
happens every time.
It's terrible.
It's definitely a lot.
I remember I did 7-on-7.
Yeah, no.
I did 7-on-7 in high school, and it was fights constantly. It's just not smart to do that.
To your point, Andrew, it's definitely a lot of young guys trying to, make a name for themselves, trying to make the team also too. It's like, I have to go get a big hit on another player just to even make this roster. So you see that a lot. Like, how many times has Travis Kelce got, in a fight with like some rookie linebacker that's just like not gonna make the team.
Uh-huh.
And it's like
Every
every
single
year,
year.
I feel like
Oh,
Travis Kelsey is always squaring up with some rookie out of like North Dakota State.
I think that's partially because of Kelsey's personality, though. He just
Yes.
kind of enjoys that. Like
Oh
he
yeah.
likes to get chippy with guys, and if somebody's gonna get
Yeah.
chippy with him, he's like, "Okay, let's go. This is fun. Like, let's get after it." Like I've been looking to fight somebody.
Yeah, I mean that you hit it spot on. It's a lot of times the ones that do these hits are the rookies because and Kelsey actually said it last year. Pretty much your exact quote, Pen. Like he knows that these are rookies that are trying to make the names for themselves. They want to make the team. They think doing a big hit that's going to get them noticed. But then a lot of times when you do it on the wrong player, like Kelsey, that's not the player you do it to. Do
Yeah,
it to
you're gonna get messed up.
do it to like freaking MVS. Do it to some player that's not gonna no one's gonna care about. But
How much are the Chiefs playing? How much are the Chiefs paying MVS again for a guy who doesn't do
He's
anything?
not on the team anymore. He's on the Bills now.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
He's already
Yeah.
dropping passes without a defender in camp. So I think he's going to go really far this year. Maybe he'll be my sleeper pick. Just kidding. Not at all.
Not a good pick. I'm telling you right now, not a good pick.
It's not. But yeah, let's kind of go through our first segment here. This is our pilot episode, so we're going to kind of play with things, kind of see what what's the best for the community and what they want to hear. But we're going to go through our sleepers. Each of us are going to go through 3 of our sleeper picks. They could be a pick that, hey, this person's going under the radar. I think they're going to pop off. Or there could be a pick that they're a good player, but their ADP says that they're not as good as people above them, but you believe that they're going to beat their ADP. End of the day, the draft is about beating the ADP. You want to draft someone, when you're drafting the 5th round, you want to get someone that could be the potential to be the same numbers as a second or first round pick. That's kind of the name of the game here. So I'll kind of go with my first sleeper pick here. First one's going to be Evan Ingram. Honestly, when I was looking at the stats today, I didn't even realize how good he was last year. Did you guys know he was a number 2 tight end last year?
No.
Number 2 tight end last year, and he was. I do remember a little bit because when I was thinking back to it, I remember like towards the last few games, they're saying like he was only a few receptions away from breaking like the all-time reception record in the season. He was at I'm just gonna go through his stats last year. How many receptions he had in a game? 5, 6, 7, 7, 4, 7, 5, 10, 4, 4, 5, 9, 11, 4, 10, 6, and 10. Those are insane numbers for a tight end, honestly, that completely flew under the radar in Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. And Jacksonville lost Calvin Ridley as well. So they have I think his name's Brian Thomas, that guy from LSU. That's going to be a stud, obviously, but he's losing Calvin Ridley, a proven talent.
Well, they're also losing.
He was one of the
favorite the other wide receiver that left there. Zay Jones also. He left. So
Zay Jones. So they. Yeah,
it's really
they
just
got
Christian
only Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas. They have Gabe Davis, but as you know, Gabe Davis, he's only good against the Chiefs. So he's the deep guy. He's going to get the deep ball, once a game, but he's not a target hog. Evan Ingram, in my opinion, is going to be the guy this year. I really want to acquire him in a lot of my drafts, and his ADP right now is pretty solid. He's going as the 8th tight end under Kyle Pitts, Kittle, Kincaid, Trey McBride, Mark Andrews, Laporta, and Kelsey. Obviously, there's some names there that I would take the chance on more than Ingram. Obviously, Kelsey, Laporta, Andrews, those are the proven guys. But people like Trey McBride, I don't see anything. I know the talent's there, but I really don't see the numbers that makes me confident in picking him. Dalton Kincaid, he's in a very similar situation with Evan Ingram. He lost Stephon Diggs. Who else is he going to throw to right now? They got freaking Curtis Samuel, and they do have Keon Coleman, that rookie out of Florida State, which I'm excited for. I actually have him in our Dynasty League, which I was really pumped to get. But end of the day, he doesn't have a lot of people to throw to. So Kincaid, I think, is very similar level with Evan Ingram. But end of the day, Evan Ingram, he's a proven talent. He came from the Giants. He was really good there. Besides his last season, he had some injuries and whatnot. But I really think with his ADP going eighth tight end off the board, and he's at 67th overall. Like, I think that's a big steal in the draft. So when I'm going for tight ends, I typically don't like going early. I'm not Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce type of guy. I love tight ends, but they're a dime a dozen. You're only going to find a few of them that are actually worth their ADP. But in this instance, I definitely agree that Evan Ingram's going to be worth it to take in the 5th or 6th round. So I'm not sure if you guys have similar thoughts on him, but that's kind of where I'm sitting at with him, at least for this season.
You said he was number 2 overall in PPR?
Yeah, number 2 overall PPR as a tight end. His numbers were like, his fantasy numbers were pretty solid. Like, he's like, end of the day, this guy was not ever losing you a week. You have those tight ends that pop off. They get 30 points and they get 1 point or 0 points. This guy was, I'm just kind of going down the weeks last year: 9, 11.7, 13.7, 11.9, 6.8, 11.1. 9.5, 15.8, 5.3, 6.9, 9.9, 23.3, 32.5, 6.8, 16.5, and 12. Like, for a tight end, those are pretty solid numbers to me.
Mm-hmm.
And now going into a second year with Trevor Lawrence, having that rapport, I agree. I think his target share is going to go up as well because of him being one of the only guys that Trevor Lawrence trusts, at least right off the gate. I'm very confident in him this year.
Yeah,
No, I agree. I
Honestly,
agree. Yeah, I believe it's a good pick too, just because, you look at an offense like Jacksonville. Their wide receivers are gonna produce those really big bombs from Trevor. The 30, 40-yard touchdown passes. But more than likely, and ETN is kind of the same with Jacksonville. I think when they get to the red zone, most of their targets are either gonna be like a halfback, like Texas wheel route, or a screen to ETN, or an option play, or more importantly, just big man going up and get it with Evan Ingram. You just look at his production since he's left New York, and he's just kind of stood out. And Jay Marshall, I have him on the team in our league last year, and I hope I didn't drop him. I think I still have him, but no, you're right. Like, he's just a beast in terms of production. And when you look at some of the other tight ends out there, I mean, like, yeah, Kelce, he's a stud, but Kelsey's starting to slow down a little bit, especially with those young chief wide receivers. There's a lot more options for Mahomes to throw than Kelsey. Mark Andrews, I mean, you can talk about it. Same thing. You got Zay Flowers there. Rashad Bateman, I think, is there. Just a bunch of young weapons.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry is going to take a huge chunk of those red zone targets, and then also the injury from him. And then last but not least, the younger guys. So, you got Laporta. I think he's going to be a big weapon. But Amon St. Brown is going to be the number 1 there. Trey McBride, haven't really seen anything out of him, but I think Marvin Harrison is going to be the stud on that team. And then Kyle Pitts, I mean, let's be honest. I just don't get the hype. He's
been a mess.
He's a really good player for the Falcons from a season standpoint. From, like, if you're just talking like regular football standings, absolutely, he's a beast. You want him on your team. He's going to block for you. He's going to get your running back into the end zone. He's going to set up those huge blocks for those wide receiver screens. But, I mean, he's been in the league for, 2 years now? And, I mean, I just feel like every year,
his 4th year.
Yeah, they say he's going to be a top 3 tight end, and he winds up finishing, like, maybe top 10, like, behind, like, some of these less level guys. So I agree. I think Evan Ingram is definitely a huge pickup. I mean, he's ADP 67.7 on the Sleeper app. Just looking at some of his snap share, I think that's definitely going to go up with some of those wide receivers like Zay Jones and everybody gone and whatnot. So yeah, I think that's a huge pickup in fantasy leagues if you're wanting to draft a tight end, not in that original top 3.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll say one more thing that we can go on to yours, Ben. End of the day, this pick wasn't a necessarily like we knew this guy was good. It's not like he was like one of those sleepers where, like, hey, I know he's going to be great. He's going to be the number 1 guy. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is, based off his ADP, I'd rather risk my 6th round pick then go Kelce, because I agree. I think he's the guy that you go to when you're trying to get the first down in the game or to win the game. I do think his target share is going to go down because you got, Hollywood Brown, you got the fastest guy on earth, and you got the fastest guy in the car. So, so between those guys, I would never draft Kelce, honestly. And Laporta, I mean, I love Laporta. If I'm not risky enough to take him in the second round, though. I have him on my dynasty team, but I'm not going to take him that high. Like, end of the day, I'm going to take a tight end in the middle rounds, and I'm going to pick somebody that is going to give me the amount of points that I really need, but I'm not going to risk getting the really high upside guy that could end up killing me because where I draft them. So I'll go to you next, Ben. Let's hear your first sleeper.
All right, my first sleeper is going to be Khalil Shakir on Buffalo, wide receiver. You look at a guy like him, really, really young, only a couple years in the league. And the reason I think he's going to have a breakout season is you look at some of his production from last season. And this was as like a wide receiver 3-4 on the team. And you looked at some of those weapons. They had Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox. They had a lot of weapons on that team, and they pretty much, for the most part, you still got your big tight ends there, but Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs are both gone. I mean, you're looking at this guy, though, against some pretty good defenses last year. The Jets, he put up 20. He was the wide receiver 9. The last 2 weeks of the season, against Kansas City in the divisional, he was the wide receiver 3. He had 9 targets, 7 receptions, 44 yards, finished off with 17.4, and only played about 70% of the snap count. So you look at his snap count numbers from some of those games last season, and I mean, he's going to be going up. And then to give that in regards to Stephon Diggs, just because, I know they got Keon Coleman, but more than likely, him and Curtis Samuel are going to be kind of sharing that wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 slot in the locker room while Keon Coleman has a buildup. But you look at Stephon Diggs and his target share and snap percentage as the wide receiver 1 last year on that team. I mean, he was 99, 95, 98, 80, 92. You look at his points, I mean, they correlated with it against the Jets, 26.2. Washington 19, 36, 24, 20. And I'm not saying he's going to put up those crazy, crazy numbers that Stephon Diggs did. I mean, obviously he's a beast, but let's not forget who his quarterback is. I mean, Josh Allen is going to get him the ball. He's going to get open. He's going to expose some hot routes. So I just, in terms of a deep league, I'm not talking, probably your later rounds, but he's somebody that's definitely not going to be taken in a lot of leagues until potentially off the board, maybe a waiver wire pickup if he starts to go off. So just keep your eyes on him. Or just kind of, I'm at the end of my draft night. I'm not really sure who to go with. I'd say go with someone like him over a wide receiver 3 with an okay quarterback, just because I do see him emerging as kind of that wide receiver 1 in Buffalo with both those wide receivers gone.
Yeah, I think this is the true definition of an actual sleeper pick. Mine was more of like my picks, as you'll see, later in this podcast, are more of beating ADP type sleeper picks. But this is one where, like you said, you can take this guy in the last 2 rounds, maybe last 3, just depends on, how your league's set up, if it's keeper league, dynasty, whatever it is. But yeah, this guy has the potential to be the wide receiver 1. Keon Coleman, end of the day, you see rookies, they usually, like, besides, the Jamar Chases, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lambs, like most rookie receivers take a while to really develop, to learn the system, to really start making you points to where you actually trust them to be in your lineup. And this guy right here, he's going, Khalil Shakir is going 136. Like that's end of your draft. That's a guy you can pick up. He already, and as you saw, the last 8 games of the season, Stephon Diggs, they knew he was going to be gone. They stopped feeding him the ball, and others like Kincaid and Shakir and these other receivers had to step up to the plate. And he's going to be he's the one that Josh Allen already has rapport with. So I can definitely see him as a sleeper. I think 100% he's going to beat his ADP. end of the day, you can get this guy off the waiver wires or the last 3 rounds of the draft. So he's going to beat that. So I think he's worth the shot. I personally am not going to trust him in my lineup until probably, I want to see probably 3 solid weeks. Like that type of player is not one of the guys that you're putting in your wide receiver slot. He's going to be your flex. He's going to be your kind of last option, or if someone gets hurt.
Yep.
In the day, you're going to have receivers better than him, but he's one that I would trust to start if one of my guys gets hurt or if I need somebody in a pinch. And he's shown he's gotten a few good weeks in a row. I'll put him in. Like I said, I'll probably wait till week 4 to kind of see, but I do think he has that potential for sure. You got anything, Andrew?
I mean, the one thing I'll say about it is like the cool thing about a pick like this is it's not a gamble. Like you're not spending anything on this guy. Like if he busts, he busts. Like you picked him 12th, 13th, 14th anyway. Like it doesn't matter. Those are throwaway picks anyway. Like I look at a draft as like I got $1,000 to spend, and like my first 2 picks, those are like $600, and after that, like everything else is like, I mean, if I screw up in the really late rounds, I lost $50. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I agree. You hit it spot on. Like you're not losing anything for picking him. End of the day, like my teams after week 1, I usually drop 3 people and pick. Like I was a waiver wire hero last year in our dynasty league. Like
you picked up, was it Tank? Did you pick up Tank Dell?
No, I'll tell you the people I picked up.
Or A-Chain. You got one of those.
I picked up Kyron Williams.
Oh,
and I picked up Puka Nacua.
Oh,
and I picked up C.J. Stroud.
Goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Not our dynasty league, our other league. Like I can't even decide on my keeper this year because of it. But yeah, like end of the day, this is gonna be one of the guys like you might draft him last pick. But end of the day, if you see someone on waiver wires, someone gets hurt, you're probably gonna have to drop this guy. But I do agree with you, Ben. This is the definition of sleeper pick, and I do see the potential. But this is one you're just gonna have to sit on, and you might have to drop him. But you could regret dropping him. That's the hard part about fantasy football is like you don't know who's going to pop off and who's not. But I do think he's worth the shot in the late rounds for sure.
Also got an extremely high quality quarterback with no other receivers on the team. So
exactly,
odds are pretty good.
Definitely. So I might hold him. Honestly, if I had him, I might hold him just because he has Josh Allen. Who else is Keon Coleman and Kincaid? But you have to have another receiver. Like he could end the season in the top 20, as a top 24 receiver. Like we don't know, but with that gunslinger of a quarterback, like I'd take the gamble on him 100%.
Agreed.
Cool, Andrew. Let's hear your first sleeper.
All right. So this one is kind of a gamble because his ADP is 805, which is. I mean, in the 8th round, like you're starting to get into your less like important picks, but
it's a depth piece.
It's still somebody who's going to matter on your team. But I took Zamir White on the Raiders, and the reason for that is just because he killed it at the end of the season. I don't know if you guys remember how good. Well, J Mars, I'm sure you remember because you're a diehard Chiefs fan. But I mean, he ran all over the Chiefs. Ran all over the Chiefs. Like at 145 yards against that defense.
And that was the best defense we've ever had. So
yeah. Well, and it was one of the best defenses in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, and one of the best D lines in the league. Like that to me makes him worth a small gamble, just that performance alone and how he looked at the end of the season. Plus the fact that, I mean, ADP of 805, right? So we're putting him, he's going to be on a team that has historically only had 3 down backs in the past, 5-6 years. Like they really don't flex guys. They don't switch it up on the 3rd down. Like
but Josh Jacobs' best 4 or 5 years. I mean, and Josh Jacobs, not last year, the year before, was he the number 1 running back? And that dude was going off. They've always had Yeah, like you're right. Spot on. They have 3 down backs. They typically stay with 1 back. And I mean, in the 8th round, get Zamir White. I mean, honestly, like I was considering doing Ramondre Stevenson as one of my sleeper picks, but Zamir White's going, a few picks ahead of him, 1 pick ahead of him, ADP wise. Like that's a solid pickup for a team that's, they have a very good defense. Like they could easily get a pick on the other side of the field, and they're going to lean on Zamir White, for these red zone, targets and red zone runs. Like who else do they got? Like, yeah, I think I think he's going to be. My opinion, I think he's going to beat some of these people that are going above him, like David Montgomery. I mean, he's a second running back on the team. James Conner. I mean, that man's he's too old, man. Aaron Jones, he's in Minnesota. I know Aaron Jones has a lot of potential, but like he's on the older side too, and he's had some down years. Kenneth Walker, that dude's he's too up and down.
They've got a lot of other running backs on that team too.
Yeah, there's a lot of running backs going ahead of him that I really think he's going to beat them from an ADP standpoint, and probably end the season above them for not all these guys, but a decent amount of them. So I think where he's going 8th round for this guy, like end of the day, Zamir White could be your RB2, which I'd be happy with, or could be your RB3, and he's a depth piece, and then you kind of see where things play out.
I think the only scary part is how bad that Raiders offense could be.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
that's the big point where I'm hesitant to draft him, is not because of his talent, but because the Raiders are trash.
And I mean,
not just because I'm a Chiefs fan.
You see it year over year with them too. I mean, they do utilize their running backs a lot. I have positives and downsides with him. The positives, like you said, are they've been able to turn those no name. I mean, you look at a guy like Josh Jacobs. Nobody knew who he was when he came out. He just kind of had a breakthrough year, and all of a sudden he took off. I think Zamir White is running back of that caliber where he can definitely make an impact on that team. Especially, I mean, you look at the other options on that team. It's like you got Devontae Adams, who frankly doesn't want to be there. He's already he's probably going to request a trade by the end of the season. Like he does not want to be there. And then besides that, it's like their other running backs. They got Matson from Minnesota. So did you watch what happened in Minnesota when they made him their starting running back? It was like he led the league. I think he fumbled against the Broncos like 4 times when we played him, and we had the worst. We stuffed him, and he only ran like 20 yards against the Broncos. And my Denver Broncos defense last year was letting up like 130 yards average on the rush. Like, you see a guy like Zamir White, I just think he has all that upside. The only thing, and moving down to the downsides, the Raiders too, they have nothing else. So my fear is they're just going to pound and pound and pound, and almost a situation where you saw what happened with what's his name? Why am I blanking? Josh Jacobs. They just pounded him until he got injured. He started to have that decline because he was running like his snaps were insane. It was like he was getting like 35, 40 carries a game sometimes, and it's just for a long season that does worry me. But I agree with you, J Marsh. I think he's definitely a flex option starting week 1, with potential upside to be RB2 and even an RB1 if you start seeing some of those key injuries of those starters going down in week 1 with like season-ending injuries. I think he has the upside to move very, very quickly up in the league rankings.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's weird to say Madison sucked as a starter, but dude was a freaking stud at below Dalvin Cook.
Best handcuff.
So I think if you get to Zamir White, go and get Madison in the last round.
He's not going to cost.
Where's Madison going? Like, he's not going to cost you anything. Get Madison, and honestly, Madison could maybe if Madison does better than did last year and acts like how he used to when he's on the Vikings, that could hopefully lower the workload for Zamir White to where he's not going to, you don't have to worry about him getting injured. And if he does, guess what? You got Madison as your handcuff. So I think that's a good pick.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'll go to my next sleeper here. And I don't even know why I'm why is this guy a sleeper and why is he going so late is my, like, he's not going as late as your guys, but like Raheem Mostert, like, dude is a stud. He's one of the fastest guys on the field. He's old, yeah, but no, he was the 5th ranked RB in PPR last year. And that was with the crazy game by Achane. Like, I think, in my opinion, I'm not high on Achane at all in any of my rankings. I love Achane. I think he has that potential. He's young, he's speedy, he's fast, but he's really small. He's injury prone. He got injured like twice last year. He had, he was injured to start the season, came in, had those crazy games, got injured again, then tried to come back, got injured again. Like, I think he's injury prone, and Mostert, with them two on the field, they still were both having great games together.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a backfield that, like, if Achane wasn't so high ADP wise, I'd love to have both of them on my team, honestly. I think both of them are going to have great seasons. And where is he at this year for, he is all the way down to, you can draft him actually later than Zamir White. He's the 77th overall and 25th RB off the board.
Wow.
Which I think is crazy. Raheem Mostert, year after year, is always undervalued. Nobody thinks about him. No one cares about him. And yeah, you bring Achane, you bring in this awesome rookie. He's going to the second year. Yeah, Achane has the potential to be the number 1 running back, 1,000%. You saw what he did against the Broncos. Sorry to mention it, but you saw what he did. He is a beast.
No,
so is
right.
Mostert. They both work in tandem together, and they both are great running backs. And just looking at his stats last year, and him even being on the field, 30, like one of his lower games against Washington, he was on the field for 38% of snaps. Still had a touchdown, still had 11 carries, still had 12 points. Like, that's like one of his lowest weeks. Like,
people always want to talk about how old he is too, and that's such a stupid thing to focus on, because, like, let's think about how many carries he's had in the NFL. That's what matters. It's mileage. It's not how old you are. It's how many miles you have on your knees, on your legs, on your back. Dude has had 674 carries lifetime. Like, I think Derrick Henry did that in one season.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing I was going to mention. Like, and I think that's the good part is, like, look at him last year. Like, he was doing so much with so little. 10 attempts, 18 attempts, 13, 7, 10, 17, 9, 13, 12. He had some really big weeks, 22 and 20. But 11, 15, 11, like, he had some weeks where he's not even getting the ball that much, but he's maximizing the what he's doing, and he's getting a few passes out of the backfield as well. So I really do think, like, if he comes to me and I'm in the 8th or 9th round or 10th round, and he's still there, why would he not take him? He can be an RB1, low end RB2 or high end RB2. Like, he has that potential, and where his ADP is, there's no chance in hell that I'm not going to pick him. And I personally am going to pick him over Zamir White.
The way the Dolphins used him too was pretty promising. Like, even when Achane was healthy and in the lineup, like, he was kind of more their red zone guy, it seemed. And the Dolphins spent a lot of time in the red zone.
Yeah, exactly. So he's going to be coming out of the backfield. He's going to be running the ball in the red zone. Achane might be maybe Achane's the one that's the 3-down back. Maybe he gets it most of the time. But when they're in the red zone, when touchdowns matter, end of the day, you look at stats of these tight ends and these running backs. Like, he had how many touched? He had.
That was the point I was going to make. He led the league in running backs last year with touchdowns. He had 18. He had 18 the year before. And then you look at some of the other players that have led the league in. Let's just look at the last 4 years of running backs that led the league in touchdowns. 2022, Jamal Williams, 17 touchdowns. 2021, Jonathan Taylor, 18 touchdowns. 2020 and 19, Derrick Henry, 17 and 16. I mean, this guy got more touchdowns in a split backfield than Derrick Henry did for 2 years when he was the Titans' only option. So you're absolutely correct. The fact that he is that low, and I think it's because they have Achane on the board of, he's going to get split carries.
Exactly.
He's still going to get a lot. And when you look at the teams they're playing, too, it's just like they've got Jacksonville, Buffalo, at Indy, Arizona, at Buffalo, Green Bay, at Houston, at Cleveland. Like, those are all very, like, big teams that got beat bad by running backs last year. they have some harder teams like
Mhm.
Seattle, New York. Their run defense is pretty solid, but they have a lot of upside with playing teams that do not perform well at stopping the run, especially in the red zone. So yeah, you're taking a small gamble with the touches between him and A Chain, but I agree. I think A Chain is going to be your first down speed back, but if they're on the one, they're going to give it to Moser. I mean, you saw it last year, and I
Yeah,
think the their offense, it's not going to change. If anything, it's going to be a well-oiled machine at this point. If Tua can stay healthy. I mean, that was another thing. We saw those concussions from Tua last year. It's like he did that without Tua
either
in
one.
there. So it's like if he can stay healthy throughout the season and feed him the ball and feed him that fake option, is Tua going to run or is he going to hand it off to one of his running backs? I mean, I just think the upside for him is insane. And you're right. He is going way too low in terms of running backs.
Yeah, I agree. One last thing I just want to mention, like 18 touchdowns, that's a lot. He's going to have a touchdown regression. You do not see running backs, receivers, tight ends that many. That's a lot, and that's going to be very hard to repeat. But honestly, even if you got half of that, 9 touchdowns and splitting the workload, that's still a solid. That's going to be a RB2, and you're still getting him for cheap ADP wise. So like, I'm going to take that gamble, and with him, what I firmly believe he's going to get a lot of the red zone touches, and Achane's probably going to get hurt. I'm willing to do that. So that's my sleeper. I'm excited about that one. But yeah, Ben, let's hear your next one.
Yeah, so my next sleeper, this one's obviously a little bit of a risk. And this is purely just from a safety value standpoint, especially in a 12-man league where you see a lot of those quarterbacks going early. This is somebody I would not have as your QB1. But if you were in a dynasty league, this was more towards that, you know, potential, but it's going to be Kirk Cousins. I know a lot of people are saying avoid him because of the injury last year. I mean, that was a freak injury last year. And let's be honest, nobody's saying the same thing about Rodgers. People are saying they draft Rodgers over Kirk Cousins at this point. I've heard it through so many friends, and I've seen it in some of my sleeper
No way.
rounds. That is insane that they're drafting Aaron Rodgers over Kirk Cousins. I mean, this guy, when he was healthy last year, and this was granted the first 5 weeks of the season last year. This was without Justin Jefferson, so this was working with a rookie, Jordan Addison, and then KJ Osborne as his two wide receivers. But you got Tampa Bay, he had 17 points. Philly, 28.6. Chargers, 26 points. And he had a couple down games, but back in San Francisco, 22 points. Green Bay, 19 points. And I just like him on the reason I think he's going to be a sleeper this year. I just like him on that Falcons offense a lot more. I think that's a young, hungry team. I think it's one of those situations where he's just been in Minnesota a little bit too long. He's the NFC North is a really, really tough division also to play in against those defenses. And you're looking at him in a defense or a division like the NFC North versus now who's he going against? He's got the Panthers twice a year. He's got the Buccaneers. Their defense is solid for the
The
most part.
Saints, who are
And then the
awful. Their
Saints, like
defense
their
is
defense
terrible.
is awful. Like if he stays healthy, he has the potential upside for a crazy. I'm not talking like top. Yeah, no, I'll say it. He could be a top 10 quarterback if he stays healthy. You look at some of the weapons he's got. I mean, Drake London, those wide receivers too, and Kyle Pitts, they have just been begging since they've been in the league to have a quarterback who's a veteran who can get them the ball. I mean, Jim Marsh, I know you and I talked about it last year. You tried to trade me for Drake London like 5 times, and I was like, I just can't do it because he'll have a game where he just goes off and gets like 30 points and then he'll go silent. And I think the reason he's going silent is because he's having quarterbacks that are changing from Desmond Ritter to no name quarterbacks. So I think if you put a veteran in that
Taylor
locker room,
Heineke.
yeah, Taylor Heineke. It's like if you put a veteran in that locker room with the presence of Kirk Cousins, who's used to throwing to those stars, Julio Jones, Justin Jefferson. I think, being honest, he has a potential of, if your star quarterback, your QB1 goes down in week 3 with a freak injury, he is a very, very solid QB2 that could potentially save your season.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, his ADP, he's the 18th quarterback taken. I like him better than some people above him, not all. Like, I think where his ADP is, like, I think he has the potential to be a top 10, but when I'm looking at QBs above him, would I take him? Probably not. But I think he's a quarterback. You can probably wait because by the time he's at your turn, a ninth round, 10th round, whatever, everyone already has quarterbacks. They're not going to be looking to get Kirk Cousins as a backup. Most people aren't. Like, if that's my QB1 and I'm getting him in 10th round, I'm not disappointed in that by any means. It's like you said, he's going from the NFC North. Like last year, yeah, he had Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson until the Chiefs when Justin Jefferson got injured in the Chiefs, and then 3 weeks later, Kirk Cousins out for season. He's had plenty of time off to recover. Honestly, he's looking good. I think he'll be ready for the season, and he has Kyle Pitts, which I know we talked crap on him earlier, but Kyle Pitts could finally have the season that he's been wanting. You got who else did they get this year? Didn't they get was it Zay Jones? Isn't he on the team on the Falcons?
Let me look it up. Let me just go to their depth chart real quick.
So they got that's who it is. Darnell Mooney. So they have Darnell Mooney. They got Rondale Moore, and they have Drake London. They have Bijan Robinson. They got Tyler Algier. Like Falcons offense, they have so many people that are going to be really good. I think they're going to be good offense. I believe they're going to win that division. They're not going to win that division with a bum quarterback. They do have Kirk Cousins. I do think he's going to bring the best out of all these players. So I think all these players, I'd be willing to take the risk on most of these. Especially
one that more importantly
really
too, they got rid of Arthur Smith. I mean, like, oh my God, Steelers, good luck.
Yeah,
like you guys fired Matt Canada and replaced him with Arthur Smith. Like, what are you guys like? That's a separate conversation. But Steelers, what are you doing? Like with your offensive coordinators, like get it together. Like hire somebody who's gonna, get passing and throw down the middle once in a while. Like, no, but yeah, that's why I had him as a sleeper pick as well.
Yeah, and I think that, like I said earlier with your first pick, I think he's a true definition. You're going to get him in the late round, so he's going to be that kind of ADP type sleeper, and he's just a sleeper because besides primetime games, this dude is a good fantasy player. We all know he's not good in primetime games. When the lights are on, everyone's watching him, you see he just doesn't do good. I don't know. That's just what we all see, but end of the day, this guy has thrown and made Justin Jefferson's a great receiver, but he helped get him there by throwing him great footballs and getting him touchdowns, getting him throwing the ball a bunch of times a game. So like all these receivers and the running backs that all benefit from having Kirk Cousins rather than Taylor Heineke and Desmond Ridder. So the whole team's going to benefit. I think they're going to win the division, and I think Kirk Cousins is a great late round quarterback to get. If I didn't get a quarterback and I waited till the 10th round and I got Kirk Cousins, I would not be disappointed by any means.
Well, you said that the Fantasy Pros had him QB 18, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, so in his career, aside from 2023, he's only finished under QB 18 once, and that was in 2019.
Exactly.
Aside from that, he's QB 10, QB 5, QB 8, QB 10, QB 11, QB 10, and QB 11.
Yeah, so you're getting a quarterback in the 10th round probably. Maybe later, because like I said, based off everyone already having quarterbacks, they might just, like, why would they pick him in 10th round? Would they get a running back or a depth piece? Like, they're not going to pick Kirk Cousins then. You could maybe even get him later. So you're getting a guy that most of the time is getting top 10. So you're getting a top 10 quarterback. Like, end of the day, when I think of top 10 quarterbacks in the league, not even just talking about fantasy, just top 10 quarterbacks, I think of Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, he's in the conversation.
Yeah, he's in that conversation. He's borderline top 10. But like he's there, and he's doing that in fantasy too. So look at where he's ended up. I'll take that gamble because he's proven it. So no reason not to trust your instinct there. Cool. Well, Andrew, let's move on to your last one. We'll probably save our third sleepers for maybe next week.
Yeah.
Because I know we want to kind of get through this mock draft here, just kind of talk through our thoughts about everything, and we can go through our third sleeper next week. So let's do the last sleeper of the evening here.
Speaking of the Steelers, Pat Freiermuth.
Muth is Luth.
Hey, look, I know Arthur Smith ain't a great offensive coordinator pick, but he's a hell of a lot better than Matt Canada.
God, yeah.
I've never I've never seen anybody that bad. But anyway, I like Freiermuth like right when he came into the league, and he was extremely consistent even with really really bad quarterback play.
Because that isn't that Roethlisberger's last year?
Yeah,
like with Roethlisberger, who I thought he was a lineman that year.
Yeah,
like,
he looked bad, and then he had Kenny Pickett, he had Mitch Trubisky. I mean, he had like some of the worst quarterbacks he could possibly had is who he had throwing to him. So yeah, I feel good about the new OC. Just because Arthur Smith does target tight ends pretty regularly. I mean, yeah, Russell Wilson isn't the greatest, but he's a hell of a lot better than who he's had. And honestly, like Justin Fields might end up starting by the time it's all said and done. And I really like Fields. I really don't think the Bears should have gotten rid of Fields. I think they should have traded the number 1 pick and kept Fields. That's just me.
Steelers country, let's ride.
No, Steelers country, let's well. Let's well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this another one. Like I think he's a sleeper pick, for sure. I agree. Like the segments about sleeper picks, like who do we think's gonna go above ADP, or who do we think that's just completely under the radar that can, have the ability to be very good. And end of the day, tight ends are a dime a dozen. Like I said earlier, if you don't get one of those top 5 guys, then you are taking a gamble.
And that's another reason why I like him, because they have him at an ADP of 9th round, 5th pick in the 9th round, and it's to me that's the perfect time to take a tight end, because I've already got my receiver. I've got my wide receiver 1. I've got my wide receiver 2. I've got RB1. I've got QB1. I probably got my flex. Like at this point, I've got my starting lineup set. Like all I need to do is grab a value tight end, and this is my guy.
Exactly. Yep. He's end of the day when you get. We're going to talk. I'm going to go through the tight ends that are going to be those top tier ones. Laporta, Kelsey. I'm sorry, I don't believe McBride is, so I'm not saying his name. Mark Andrews, Kincaid, Kittle, and then Evan Ingram. I believe he's in that top tier, in my opinion. But then you have Kyle Pitts. Brock Bowers is a rookie. Rookie tight ends never do anything. Njoku,
on the Raiders either.
Njoku helped me win my fantasy league last year. Jake Ferguson, who that dude, if he gets a few more touchdowns, that dude could be a top tier one. So I like him. Hawkinson, he's coming off an injury. Dallas Goedert, I feel like he hasn't been good in a while. I feel like he's your average tight end. He's going to get you enough points where you're not mad, but I don't think he's near enough of a stud. Cole Kmet, I think last year, decent tight end. This year, you have too many stud receivers.
Too many weapons.
Like, I don't think he's going to get the ball enough. Too many weapons.
I'd be fine with him on my bench, but
not as a starter. No. So Muth. I think I would pick Dalton Schultz over Muth. Freiermuth. Kind of Dalton Schultz, similar situation with Chicago though. They do have a lot of targets, but Schultz is like you saw him those 2 years ago. When he was with Dallas, he was a stud tight end. He was one of the tight ends you wanted to get because you got him late in the drafts or you got him off of waivers, and he was very good.
I feel like, though, Dalton Schultz, I don't know. I feel like a lot of that was just because he was like Dak Prescott's safety net. Like he was always a late release tight end who kind of just found the middle of the field after everybody ran off the man coverage. Like I'm not saying he's not good because he's a good tight end, but I think the way Dak favored him in those situations really inflated his numbers quite a bit.
Yeah, I feel like Dak inflates a lot of people's numbers, honestly.
Yeah, and I agree. I would take Freiermuth over Schultz, and for one reason alone. I mean, you look at an offense like Dallas, and if granted, I'm saying this because CeeDee Lamb still does not have his contract. So, oh my God, could you imagine? But they just they have too many weapons. You see it time and again. Dak does a really good job of getting multiple people the ball, whereas the Steelers, I mean, they just don't have the weapons anymore. I mean, they've got Pickens, who honestly I think he's overrated. I don't think he's that good. And then, I mean, besides that, like, can you name another Steelers wide receiver. I know they drafted Roman Wilson, who I think is going to be a good option for them, but
He's injured right now.
yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying. Like with the Steelers, they don't have a lot of weapons. And the one thing I will say about tight ends is, you look at a guy like Russell Wilson, being a Broncos fan last year and watching what he was able to do with some of our tight ends. I mean, there were guys that I'd never heard of, in my life that had been in the NFL for like 5 seasons that Russ was just throwing bombs to. Russ doesn't do well with those speedy deep balls at this point in his career. I mean, he had a couple darts to Cortland Sutton, and I think he's still going to do that with Pickens. But I think the majority of Russ's workload, if he's going to be the starter, is going to be to Freiermuth. One of those big 50-50 balls, go up and get it. I wish I could show you there's a highlight from last season where Russ showed that with our tight end, Lucas Kroll, he's our third string tight end, and Russ just went up and threw him a big 50-50 ball, back corner of the end zone, go up and get it. And I think you're going to see a lot of that. And to your point, Andrew, the one thing that I do like about Arthur Smith is he does favor tight end play. I think the only reason they weren't able to get it going last year in Atlanta was just because of how poor their quarterback play was. I mean, you saw Kyle Pitts just begging for the ball last year. Like, he'd be wide open and have 20 yards in front of him, and Desmond Ridder would just throw it 20 yards past Drake London. Like, you're going to see an upside in Freiermuth's production, definitely. My only concern with him is just his health. I know he's had a little bit of the injury bug, but no, I think he's a very safe pick, especially I feel like there's a lot of people who undervalue the tight end position and wait too long to draft a tight end, and then they're sitting there around 8 or 9 thinking, oh crap, what am I going to do? The top 5, 6 tight ends are all gone, and I don't even have a starter, but I have really good depth on my wide receivers. I think he's going to be an option at 8 that you could pick up that would be a starter week 1 for tight end that would be serviceable if you had a more solid lineup with, wide receiver and running back heavy.
Yeah, I agree. End of the day, if you're knocking those top guys, you want to look for a tight end in those late rounds that you can trust to just get you at least 6-7 points game, get you enough points to where you're not losing a week, and that could at least be consistent. At least they're getting a few catches a game, and if they get a touchdown, then you're having a great week. Like, those are the type of tight ends in those late rounds you're looking for. You're not going to get, there's a chance they could go crazy like Njoku last year, but at the end of the day, those late round tight ends, you just want, steadiness with them. So that's what, I look for, and Muth definitely has that ability because he's shown us it before. And with better quarterback play, I think he definitely has that ability this year. So, cool. Well, no, that was good with sleeper picks this time. Next week we'll go over our last sleeper pick and maybe talk about some other guys. What are my guys this year? Who are the guys that you really, no matter what draft you're going into, like, who do you really want to get? Doesn't matter if you're going to pick them early, you're going to pick them late, you're picking them with ADP. Like, who do you really want to get? So we can kind of talk about that next week. But last segment here, we're going to do a mock draft. Just kind of talk. We're going to have all the other picks get auto drafted, but we're going to talk through our mindset. What 2 players are we thinking about at this position, and just so you can kind of see really what we're thinking and which way we're leaning. Are we going running back? Are we going to do wide receiver first? So we're going to talk through that a little bit in this mock draft, and then we'll kind of end it there. I'm going to share my screen here. Andrew, if you want to jump in this mock draft, then I see you in there already. So
I thought I was already in. My bad.
All good.
You might be. I think you just have to claim your where you're picking.
Yeah, you just got to claim Team 7 is where we got you at.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Let me know when you're in, and I will get this mock draft started. Cool.
All right, I'm in now.
Andrew's in. I got pick 3. Andrew's got pick 7, and Ben is pretty much right at the turn at pick 11. So we're really picking at 3 different spots. Everyone in their league is going to be at different spots, and really based off where you're at, you have to think, how am I going to draft? If you have the top spot, you're going to get a top receiver, but then you're waiting a lot of picks to get it back around to you. So that's really how you have to think is if you really want a player and you really think they have that upside, are you going to pick and just pick them potentially early, or are you going to wait and see if they might get back to you? But then that's a risk. So that's kind of a lot of the things that go in all of our minds every time we're doing drafts and we're in draft season. So we'll kind of go through that. So let's start it here. First pick looks like, of course, CMC, Tyreek Hill. So I got two options here, and I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts because this is kind of what I have the third pick in mine in Andrew's league. So this is really tough for me because I can either go CeeDee Lamb, which I trust. I really love CeeDee Lamb. But someone I kind of want to take, and it's a little early, but I kind of want to take a running back here because I think he's going to be the running back one this year, and he showed us that potential last year in Mr. Bijan Robinson. So I'd be picking him early based off of ADP. Me having third pick, he could easily go 7th, 8th pick in the draft. So I'd be picking him really early here. But what are you guys' thoughts on this? Should I go with the proven receiver, or should I go with a running back that did show us promise last year, but I'd be taking him a little bit early if I picked him third here.
I mean,
I don't.
I look at it
Go ahead.
I look at it like this: like you're either taking CD or you're taking Bijan, because you're definitely not taking Justin Jefferson.
No,
just because of the quarterback play. You're
I'll
not
never
taking
take Jamar Chase
because Burrow's questionable at best right now with his health. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, like, that's a toss-up between him and Bijan, and I'm taking Bijan. So if you're not taking CD, I'm taking Bijan. I personally, though, I'm taking CD because that's the sure thing. You're gambling with Bijan Robinson, and I don't gamble with high picks like this.
I agree, and that's the predicament I'm in. It's like, do I want that running back and get the second running back off the board and be like, running back's a hard position to get. There's not a lot of you don't get. I'm going to pick CD here, just for this example, but end of the day, it's hard because once those top tier running backs are gone, it's hard to find that proven guy that you can trust to be your RB1. Because I'm waiting until the back half of the second round just to get my first running back potentially. So that's kind of where my mindset's at. So you're on the board here. You got, like you said, Amon-Ra and Bijan. So who you taking?
I mean, it's got to be Bijan Robinson.
Yeah. I think you proved your point there. I mean,
I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. Don't get me wrong. Like I really do think on certain days he is number 2 wide receiver overall, other than Tyreek, because Tyreek's just he's playing a different game. But yeah, I got to take Bijan, not only because like I love the flashes of brilliance that we saw from him on the Falcons last year, but also because he's actually got a real offense and a real quarterback now. And arguably, like, I don't know, like whenever you make a change like Desmond Ridder to Kirk Cousins, like you make that kind of an upgrade, like the running back play is also going to get significantly better because guys aren't going to be able to cheat. They're not going to be able to play, easy coverages, like hard flat zones where they can just wait for runs. Like, they're gonna have to watch the pass a lot more. So yeah, I feel like this is a pretty easy pick for me. I'm gonna go ahead and take Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I said, I was debating picking him third. So
yeah, I mean, I agree, Andrew. I think that was the safe move with Bijan. I mean, I just feel like there's a lot of depth at wide receiver compared to where it is running back, which when, looking at where we've gone here, I mean, Breece Hall over Bijan Robinson, I don't love that. I mean, Breece Hall is just, I mean, I know it was an auto draft, but he's just very injury prone. But just looking at the running backs left on the board, got a couple options here that I'm going through. Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously, he's going to be a big target. I think he's going to get a lot of shares. And you're also looking at some of the other running backs available. But then wide receivers, you're kind of getting down to your, you still got our wide receiver ones in there. But at this point with the 11th pick, I'm not too worried about it because I know there's only 2 picks till my next pick. So I know if I go somewhere, I'm going to be able to go, a decent, serviceable wide receiver. I really like Garrett Wilson. Picking a running back here, I might lose him, but that's a risk I'm willing to take for a running back like Jahmyr Gibbs. So at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and pick up Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, I think that's a smart choice here. I don't think any of those other guys I would ever pick over Jahmyr Gibbs. And look, it's come back around, and now you have Garrett Wilson. I think if I'm looking at this board here, you got, my opinion, your options. I don't think Marvin Harrison should go second round. In my personal opinion, he's a rookie. I know he's pretty much the only guy to throw to, but when you're picking someone in the first, second round, you want someone that you can trust and that's proven themselves. We have not seen that at NFL level yet. So for me, I'm looking at Garrett Wilson, Kyron Williams, or Sam Laporta, because he is the top tight end. Like, I know I said I don't like taking tight ends early, but he'd be the one tight end I'd consider taking early.
Yeah.
So that's, in my opinion, if I were you, those are my three guys I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm right there with you. I think at this point in the draft, you got to go top value. You got to go best player available. And I mean, that's just Garrett Wilson, in my opinion. I mean, you look at some of the other players on the board here. You've got Garrett Wilson. I mean, that dude was a stud. And look who his quarterbacks were last year. I mean, he had Zach Wilson as his quarterback. And looking at some of his numbers, I mean, he's still and then not just Zach Wilson, but you had Flacco in there for a while the year before. But, I mean, he was putting up 15, 16, 17, 18, 20 with a quarterback like that. So if A-Rod stays healthy, I mean, he's going to have a busy year. So definitely Garrett Wilson.
Yep, I think that's the right pick for you there. All right, Andrew, it's at your turn here. By the way, I think I know we're kind of right at the hour here, so we'll maybe go to like the 6th round, and we can maybe pick things up next week. Just
that works. That works.
Get some time here. So so your second pick here on the board, we got the wide receivers we see: Davante Adams, Drake London, Chris Olave, ETN, or do you want to go QB in the 2nd round? You got Josh Allen.
I hate
I heard there's a guy that got Josh Allen in the 2nd round last year and he won the league. Yeah.
So yeah, I know that guy. Let's not talk about that. Anyway, I hate Davante for obvious reasons. Like we talked about it earlier, he doesn't want to be there. The Raiders are bad. I really don't love Drake London either. I feel like he hasn't really proven himself at all. I know that
he's too inconsistent for your 2nd round pick.
Yeah, exactly. Even with a bad quarterback play, like I understand he's going to be better now, but I'm not gambling on that. Chris Olave, the Saints are terrible. ETN, I mean, honestly, like I feel stupid taking 2 running backs. Like that's weird to me, but like
no, not at all. That if it were me, I'm taking ETN here. When you think of running backs that score a lot of points that end up the season as the RB1, RB2, you're gonna think of the CMC type players. So think of CMC, the Breece Halls, the ETNs, and now the Bijans and the Jahmyr Gibbs. All that's that archetype. Like they all kind of fit that.
Well, the other reason why I like him too is he's a legit 3-down back, and there's so few of those anymore.
Exactly.
Jaguars' offense is also electric, and they're in a horrible division. So ETN.
Yeah, I think that was the right pick there. I would have done the same thing. Oh, match made in heaven. Should I pick Josh Allen and just win this fake league like I did last year? I'm not taking Josh Allen.
I hate when people take QBs in round 2 because then everybody panics and just starts going QB heavy.
And that's why I wanted to mention that, for anyone watching this, obviously, people panic when they see a quarterback tape and, oh, Josh Allen's taken. Now I need to go get Mahomes. I need to go get, Jalen Hurts. I need to go get these guys. Like, you don't have to. Like, wait it out. Like, there's plenty of good quarterbacks. You can wait around to get Mahomes. Like, wait till the 3rd round. Wait till the 4th round to go get one of these other guys. Wait till 5th or 6th to get someone that's going to put up probably similar numbers, and you're getting them on the cheap. So
I actually don't freak here.
Yeah, don't freak out. That's what essentially what I say. Is people freak out when they see that. Yeah, this is a hard pick for me. because I honestly am not. I'm a Chiefs fan. I love Kelsey, but I'm not. Like I said, I'm not taking tight end this early, and I think he's a little bit down here. Ayuk, I do like Ayuk, but I'm looking at what running backs we got. Like there's people I honestly like better than Achane, but I don't need to take him right now. Wide receivers, I don't. I can wait for some of these guys. So I think this is the hard part because I know I just said I'm not going to take him, but I kind of want to take Josh Allen here just because I really am not in love with these guys as my second pick.
Doesn't the receiver core in Buffalo kind of scare you though? I mean, they don't really have any.
It does, but that just means he's going to run. But yeah, so if it's me here, I don't think I'm going to take Ayuk. I kind of want to get my RB1 right here just to play it safe. Is I don't know if Derrick Henry is going to be there by the time he gets back to me. I don't really like taking Derrick Henry. Oh man, this is hard. This is actually a really hard pick because I'm not in love with any of these guys here. Oh, time's up. So I guess I got Ayuk. See, that's what happens when you think too much.
Hey, I agree with that pick anyway.
Yeah. Oh,
whoa. Oh, it puts you on auto draft.
Yeah.
Oh, because the
But
time.
looking back at that pick, though, I mean, I know it auto drafted you, but for where you were, that's not a bad pickup, Josh Jacobs. Just because of you needed
I needed a running back one. Yeah. So yeah, let's see who came. We can talk about it real quick. So after Ayuk was Achane, Josh Allen, he's taken first. Stephon Diggs, Travis Kelce. So I would have had a choice: Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, or Pacheco, Rashad White, James Cook. Mm-hmm. Yeah, end of the day, I probably would have picked Josh Jacobs there because I think he's the best, and he's on Green Bay. Like you've seen what they've done with Aaron Jones in the past, and Green Bay took off last year. They made the playoffs. They just paid their quarterback a lot of money. Highest paid player in the NFL right now. So I want pieces of that team.
I mean, it feels weird to put disrespect on Derrick Henry, but that man has a lot of miles on him. Like, I don't know why he's going third round. Like, I understand that he's one of the greatest ever, but like, I don't know, man. I feel like that's pretty low. I feel like he needs to go fourth or fifth round. That's just me.
Yeah, I agree. That's why it's like I like Derrick Henry. I like what team he's on, and I like the fact that he's probably going to get a lot of runs in the red zone. But it just to me, he's a risky pick just because of how old he is, and he did not look good last year.
I think he's going to do a lot more blocking for Lamar than he is running it himself.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Andrew, you're up. So who are you thinking right now?
Let's see.
You got Mike Evans, who, man, last year he was a great sleeper because he went in like the 6th round.
You know
Pacheco,
what?
Deebo Samuel. You can get your quarterback in Mahomes. You can get a part of that.
7 seconds.
Chicago.
I'm not a big fan of early round QBs, but I gotta go with Mahomes. That's crazy. That's crazy value for him and him only.
Yeah, because he was going in the 2nd round the past few years. I feel like since 2019, he's been going in the 2nd round. So
yeah, and I understand that he wasn't nearly what he has been last year, but I feel like that's crazy value for him. I gotta take Mahomes there.
Yeah.
Looking at this,
what are your thoughts right now?
I mean, I don't like DJ Moore. I mean, I do, but I just think it's going to be a crowded room in Chicago. And also with DJ Moore, we don't know what Caleb Williams is going to look like. Is he going to be like Patrick Mahomes, or is he going to take a little bit of time? Versus a guy like Pacheco, I'm looking at my team right now with what my needs are. I feel a lot more confident in some of the later round running back or wide receivers. I know it's a PPR league, but I feel like you can go up and get a wide receiver available. So at this point, and looking at it too, there's a very good chance now the team behind me is on auto and they've drafted 2 running backs. So more than likely they're going to go boom, boom, DJ Moore and Michael Pittman. But I'm torn here because I like those guys, but I do like Pacheco and the value he brings as a running back. So, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and risk it and go Pacheco for value.
That's my pick as well. I'd pick Pacheco over all those guys any day.
Okay, so see, now I have a choice because Do I want to solid up my running back, I mean, my wide receiver room? Or do I want to, go quarterback? Because you look at the next two players, in terms of what it wants you to do. You got Michael Pittman and Lamar Jackson. So definitely got a choice here. Let's look at where the rest of the QBs are kind of going. CJ Stroud's going to be off the board by the time my next pick. Dak
Do
Prescott.
you guys feel like Malik Neighbors? I feel like Neighbors is not a crazy.
I've heard he's good. I'm just so scared of that Giants offense. I mean, I don't know what they do at QB if Daniel Jones goes down again, or what they do at QB if Daniel Jones is healthy. I mean, I know he's supposedly lighting it up in training camp, but I just don't have faith in the Giants. And also, too, they're just playing a crazy, crazy tough division every year. So, I mean, I'm torn between him.
I think here that's a hard part because this is around this. To be honest, I like quarterbacks off the board.
I like Malik Neighbors over Michael Pittman. I know I like him over Pittman. I will give you that. It's just at this point,
really?
You're gonna see CJ Stroud go off the board, and besides that, I can wait. But at that point, you're talking Anthony Richardson, very worried about his injury. Joe Burrow, very worried about his injury. Dak, he's solid, but then you're gonna start losing the quarterbacks a little bit. But you know what? I do like it. I'm going to take a risk on it now that you say that. I do need to shore up. I'm going to trust the QB room. So I'll go ahead and pick up Malik Neighbors over Michael Pittman.
Well, now I wish I would have waited on QB.
You could have got Lamar.
Yeah. Oh, that's a shame.
Here you got Cooper Kupp, man. You got like the end of the day, we got Puka, but Cooper, like the other day, the camp reports is Cooper Kupp. Everything runs through him. So like you got a proven dude who he had time to come back from an injury. Like he's looking good right now. And you also have to think like you're gonna wait a while until it gets back to you. So most of these guys, next 10 guys are gonna be gone. So think, do you want to grab your tight end now a little early, but get your Dalton Kincaid, or do you want to? Right now, you have two running backs, so you need to get your wide receiver one here.
There's
on this list could be the wide receiver one. I think you have two options. You have DK Metcalf, and you have Cooper Kupp, maybe Devonta Smith because he's borderline wide receiver one, wide receiver two.
I just don't like him because of AJ Brown. I would take him if AJ Brown wasn't on that team, but with AJ Brown,
I'd take him if Jalen Hurts wasn't on the team. I am not a fan of Jalen Hurts.
What do you like about a guy like Zay Flowers?
What about Flowers?
Do you like him at this point, or do you think he's still a little too young on the?
He's just I need right now with my team makeup. I need a true wide receiver one.
Yeah,
I think Cooper Kupp's your only option here.
Yeah,
if you want a true wide receiver one,
that's what I gotta do.
Yeah, and in the day, I love Lamar from a fantasy perspective. From going back to Zay Flowers, but from an actual football perspective, dude's not the best thrower. Like he's proven. That's why people call him a running back. He's a great fantasy player, and he's great with Mark Andrews.
He's a great playmaker.
Great playmaker, but and Zay Flowers did all of that work when Mark Andrews was hurt. Like you didn't hear of Zay Flowers too much, honestly, until Andrews got hurt. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I think Zay Flowers is a guy that's going to either get you 30 points or 5.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Looking at my team here, I have 2 stud receivers that could easily finish in the top 10. I got Josh Jacobs, I got a running back. So do I want to take a Mixon with Houston, which is going to get that could be really good. But honestly, I'm not going to go receiver here. I already have 2 good receivers. I want to get a stud tight end. So should I go with Mark Andrews, who's proven, or do I want to go with Kincaid, who's going to get a shit ton of targets with Josh Allen really not having anybody?
I'd go with kind of where I'm Mark Andrews at this point. Personally, Mark Andrews scares the crap out of me with his injuries. The last 2 years, I mean, he's kind of in that Kelsey category of getting older. He's a reliable guy, but there's always the question of it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. He's going to be out at least a couple games throughout the season for some weird hamstring, calf strain. Like, he's going to be injured.
If you're really
that's why I'm
looking,
taking Kincaid. I think right there, that's who I'm taking.
I've actually taken George Kittle. I know that sounds insane, but I prefer Kittle over both of those.
Whoa.
I love Kittle, but I already have Ayuk. I already have Ayuk, so I don't want to be rooting against myself.
Yeah, that's fair. You don't want to be a vampire on your own team.
Exactly. All right, so now I'm looking, do I want to wait a bunch of picks to get a quarterback? Which I can wait, and if I wait, I'm hoping I can get a Jordan Love. Brock Purdy's going to be that guy that's going to be steady. He's not going to be, the studs that are already off the board. Or should I get my RB2 right now, which there are plenty? Or do I do what we talked about earlier? Should I wait and have Zamir White if I wait until the 6th round and get my RB2, have Zamir White or Raheem Mostert?
Or if you're looking,
that's what I'm thinking is waiting, because I want pieces of, I want either an Anthony Richardson or Jordan Love. And I know Anthony Richardson, I know he got hurt last year, but he has that running capability that I really like in a fantasy quarterback, and he did show us a lot of promise in this game. He started the season, so he shows us the promise that I want to see, and he's coming back. He had plenty of time to recover. So that's what I'm taking right here. I'm taking Anthony Richardson right now, because I don't want to wait until the 6th round and then him, Burrow, Prescott, Jordan Love be off, because I really don't want Brock Purdy to be my quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I like that pick a lot. Ooh.
So you got 2 running backs, you got a wide receiver 1, and you have a quarterback. So what are you thinking here? Are you going to get another running back to ensure they have 3 top pieces, or do you want to get your wide receiver 2 here?
I'm looking wide receiver 2. I'm not looking at Tank Dell. I think that's an insane ADP. I feel like with Stephon Diggs on that team now, he's not going to be anywhere near who he was. Mm-hmm. I don't love Pickens, but he is the wide receiver 1 on that team. And anytime you take a wide receiver 1 as your wide receiver 2, you're doing yourself a favor. I think T. Higgins is arguably probably the most underrated receiver in the league right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think
especially Tyler Boyd,
just as far. The problem is Joe Burrow. I just worry about his health. God, I really love Keenan Allen, but the man has some serious miles on him, and now he's going to be competing with Odunze and DJ Moore.
DJ Moore just got paid too, so you know that he's going to be, targets are going to have to be coming his way.
I don't love Pickens, but I like him here because he's the safe bet for target share. So I'm going to go Pickens.
Yeah, not bad.
That's a smart move.
Tank Dell, Christian Kirk next, Keenan Allen after that. All right, Ben, you're up. So you right now you have 2 running backs. You have 2 receivers. Mm-hmm. So are you thinking quarterback or tight end here, or what are you thinking?
You know what? I'm looking at it. I'm going to have to go QB here. Either this pick or I can risk it. I think I'm safe in terms of a QB not getting snagged in the next.
What QBs are you looking at?
I'm
what
looking
QBs
at.
Do you want?
I'm looking at Dak and Jordan Love. I don't like Kyler. Joe Burrow again. I like him, but there's always that risk with Burrow that he gets injured. You look at a situation like this, and this could be one of those situations where we talk about where you go best quarterback available, Joe Burrow, but then in that 10th round you pick up a Kirk Cousins or like a Matthew Stafford, one of those older veterans. But I mean, I'm pretty solid on my running backs. Wide receiver room's good. I know it's telling me Kyle Pitts, but I do not like Kyle Pitts. I would rather wait on the tight end than at this point over at Kyle Pitts.
Why don't
T.
you
Higgins
get
is interesting.
If I were you, in this scenario, I know you have 36 heads here, but you only have one team that's going to pick. He's not going to do 2 quarterbacks in a row. So if you really want a Dak Prescott or Jordan Love, you're fine with that. Go get a depth piece at running back, wide receiver, or get your George Kittle now or your Evan Ingram and then wait,
Mm-hmm.
and then now you'll have a quarterback, so you can ensure that you get one of those guys. Is that guy needs a tight end and a
I
quarterback?
just saw him. He's still here. I'm going to go ahead and go with Aaron Jones. Just the fact of what Green Bay has done with running backs, I think he's going to have a lot more production than anybody on that team. And then, like you said, I'm good here. So, oh boy. Okay. Let's see. I think he's going to be there. Let's look and see. Joe Burrow would be gone by that point. See, I'm worried about now if you wait. I don't think it could get to a point where both those QBs are gone. Maybe not, but there's a chance. So I'm going to do the risky move. I know he's injury prone, but I'm digging the new Eminem look. I'm going to go Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I think that's smart. 6 teams have quarterbacks already. 7 technically, if he's the guy, would have to actually pick after you, the team 12.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you needed to pick a quarterback here because by the time we got back to you, Joe Burrow had been gone. Dak's probably going to be gone. So the guys
Maybe
you really
Love
wouldn't be there. So I think that was smart. Yeah,
Yep.
maybe Love.
All right,
But,
so
yeah,
I need
that
a
was a smart
flex. I hate James Conner. I think I have no idea why his ADP is this high. That's crazy to
He
me.
shouldn't be that high. And they just drafted a really hotshot rookie, too, who's been lighting it up in training camp.
Actually, I kind of feel good. I don't know if it's Jay Marsh's speech earlier, but I really feel good about Evan Engram here.
Do it.
That's a great value. I mean, because like you said, tight end 2 overall last year. Yeah, I'm taking Engram.
Yep, I think that was a great pick. All right, so I'm at the point. I'm set on, like, you're thinking right now. You're building your team and you're potentially adding depth. So do it like when you're in this position. I have a quarterback. I have a tight end. I have my 2 starting receivers. So I need to get an RB2 or I need to add depth to receiver. I don't need depth for quarterback. I need depth for tight end. So it's right now another depth piece for a receiver. That could be my flex, or I need to get my RB2 now because if I wait too long, I'm not going to have a good RB and just looking off of waivers. So right now I'm looking at DeAndre Swift. He's going to be on a really high-flying Chicago Bears team. Or do I go Ramondre Stevenson? I don't trust Tony Pollard, Zamir White, and Mostert. I think I can wait. So let's look at the wide receivers available now.
You don't think Najee Harris is even worth a look?
Yeah, I think he is, but I think I can wait to get him.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm going to look at a depth piece at receiver, actually, based off of the running backs that are available. And I kind of have them all similar ranking-wise in my head. So I'm looking at Calvin Ridley. He's going to be the wide receiver 1 in Tennessee. I like him, but he still has DeAndre Hopkins compete against. I don't honestly want a single piece of the Chiefs offense besides Mahomes or Pacheco. They're going to spread it around. They showed us that last year.
That's true.
Jaden Reed, I love him, but this is another hard pick. There's all Chiefs are right here. Or should I go Deontay Johnson, who he's pretty much the only receiver on the Carolina Panthers, but I can wait for him. I can wait for Keon Coleman. So
you could gamble on a Dunze. People say he might be the best receiver in the draft.
I agree. I want to gamble him, but right now I need a running back 1, so I am going to take DeAndre Swift.
That's what I would have done.
Yeah. So back to me now. I just want to finish this, but maybe we'll just talk a little bit less between picks.
Yeah, what I was also going to
do
say,
that.
Marcius, you can edit this part out, but you can also, if you want, you can edit it down to like a part 1, part 2 situation where it's like we do like part 1.
Yeah,
is
we
like
can maybe make 2 episodes. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just power through it and make 2.
Why don't we just pause it? Why don't we just pause the draft here, pick it up, and then we can keep doing like we've been doing, and then do the part 1, part 2. So that's like
we'll do that. Let me do my last pick, and then we'll end it here. I'll edit this part out, obviously. But so my last pick. So right now I got CeeDee Lamb, Ayuk. They're gonna be my starting receivers. I got Josh Jacobs, DeAndre Swift. Got my running backs. I got my tight end 1, and I got my QB. So now it's all depth pieces. It's a flex piece. So who am I looking at? So when I'm looking at who's available running back wise, I got Najee. So he's your running back 1, but he does have a pretty solid running back behind him. So I'm a little nervous with that. just because Najee Harris has kind of shown that they can be reliable, but also he has some issues. Jaylen Warren, has looked really good in camp. Receivers, kind of same situation. I do like Ladd McConkey a lot. I do think Keon Coleman has a lot of potential. But right here, I'm going with my sleeper pick. I'm going Raheem Mostert because I need a running back depth piece. I need someone that can be a running back one, and he's shown us he can. So I'm going with Raheem Mostert, and I am going to pause this. Cool. So we'll pause here. We'll pick up the second half in next week's episode. But this is the Everyday Fantasy Football Podcast. Again, this is Justin, Ben, and Andrew. We're going to be doing episodes every single week. Ben and Andrew still aren't up to date. They're not tech savvy, I guess, because they're not on Twitter yet, or X. But they're going to get on X as well. We'll answer any questions you guys have about picks, ADP, where should you draft, what's the best draft position, just any fantasy questions you possibly can think of. We'll be there to answer them. And like I said, we'll be back every week, different topics, answer any questions you guys have live on the show as well. So I'm excited to keep going forward with this. With that being said, Ben, Andrew, got anything else to say?
No.
Love Mostert at the end there. And I can't believe A-Chain goes so much higher than him. It makes absolutely no sense to me.
I agree. That's
Also,
why
James
I was
Conner
looking at those picks and like,
that's absurd. Yeah. It makes no sense.
So I'm liking my team so far. I really am. So I'd be happy with this team. This is my actual team, draft. But maybe next week I think I'm going to talk about keeper leagues because a lot of us are in those keeper leagues. So deciding like, hey, what keepers should I pick? Like you have maybe a few options. Do you want to get a keeper that's maybe you lose a middle round pick, or do you want to keep somebody that you lose the last pick in the draft? And you just have all these options in the world. You don't give up anything to keep them. So we'll talk about keepers. We'll do part 2 of the mock draft. We'll finish up with our last sleeper pick as well. And we'll go and answer any questions that we see. So we will see y'all next week.